So the next thing I want to show you all is how to create this frequency distribution using technology, because this process can be very tedious, even if you do have a relatively small amount of data. But imagine if we had a data with 50 different data points in it. It would take a lot of time, and it's very easy to miss when you're counting something in a group. So if you click on the note sheet for lesson 4. I know that looks a little weird right now, but if you click on the note sheet for lesson 4, you'll open up this file, which is the same file we're working on. And this is actually a link that links to the data. So now that I have the data pulled up here, what I'm going to do is I just link it here so you can quickly come here and copy all of the data. So I just highlighted all of this. You can right click and hit copy, or you can just hit Control C on your keyboard. And then you're going to open up my math lab. And from my math lab, you're going to be able to get to StatCrunch. So I'm going to click on this StatCrunch button here, and then I'm going to click on the link to visit the StatCrunch website and click the yellow button to open up StatCrunch. So now that I have StatCrunch opened, I'm now going to paste the data back into here. Now, I always suggest you double check. I can see that I have 1 to 30. I have 30 data entries in here, and I also had 30 data entries over here. You can double check that just to make sure that you're not chopping any of the data off. Okay, so now that I have all of the data in here, I just don't want that clicked. Now I'm going to create my frequency distribution. I'm going to click on Stat, and then I'm going to click on Table, and then Frequency. So that was Stat, Tables, Frequency. Select the columns. My data is in var 1, but you know what? A better practice would be, this is a data set for prescription costs. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm just going to put cost up here just to be a little bit more specific. And then I'll go Stat Tables Frequency. I'll select cost. I want to create a frequency distribution. So I'm just going to click on frequency. I am going to check the box for bin numerical values. I want to start binning them at 155, I believe we started at. Yeah, 155. So what we call classes, StatCrunch calls bins. That's the only difference. So we're going to start our bins at 155, and our class width was 36. So I'm going to width 36, and I'm going to hit compute. And StatCrunch gives me this table here. And I want to take a second to talk about what this means. Hopefully, this table matches up with our table, and it does. We can see that we have, well, kind of, right? Like the numbers look a little bit off, 191. It looks like we're off by 1 on the upper class limit, and we're not. I just want to explain why it looks like that. So if you're familiar with interval notation, it's okay if you're not, but generally when you're writing an interval, bracket means included and parenthesis means excluded. So let's look at this first interval here, 155 to 191. They have a bracket on 155, and then they put a parenthesis on 191. 191 means, with the parenthesis, means it's not included. So technically, this is the same thing as saying, if I'm not including 191, they are including 190. This is really just to 190. Because we can see that 191 is included in the second group, which is good because that's what we expect to see matching up with our frequency distribution. Okay, so yes, this is still correct, and they say the exact same thing, even though the numbers look off. Please don't be confused by those the ones with parentheses and ones with not. If anything, when you create a frequency distribution in I can't say please don't be confused, but if anything, when you create a frequency distribution in StatCrunch, the numbers that you see here truly are your lower class limits. Okay, these are not the upper class limits because those numbers are not included. We have to drop back down by 1 to pick up those upper class limits. I don't know why that says 36 right there. This should say 407. Well, actually, it should say 406. Yeah. Okay, so that's how we create a frequency distribution in StatCrunch, but what is particularly important is that these numbers match. 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, and they do. And even as you're working on your homework in my math lab, on questions where you're being asked to create a frequency distribution, there's very likely a little icon that you could click on that will open up the data in StatCrunch for you so that you don't have to sit there and actually like create the frequency distribution by hand. So for example, here's a question from the homework. This one looks a little bit different because we're not working with numerical data, we're working with qualitative data. We have letter grades. So we want to fill in what's going on for A, we want to fill in what's going on for B, so on and so forth. I'm just going to click on it to show completed. So we want to see like this, A, B, C, D, F. So how we could build this frequency distribution in StatCrunch is you see this little icon here. This is what I want to make sure you all see. We can click on that to open the data up in StatCrunch. And then once you have the data opened up in StatCrunch, it's still the same process. You click Stat Tables Frequency, select the column where the data lives. I just want a frequency here. Because I'm not dealing with numbers, I don't have to worry about binning it at a certain value. It'll know to just do A, B, C, D, F, and it'll give me those values there. And looks like this one's also asking for relative frequency. We'll talk about that in a second and see how we could just click on that as well, and it'll also create it for us in StatCrunch.